Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-ba. All right. Promoter 101. Promoter 101. Promoter 101. Promoter 101. And Promoter 101. Promoter 101. Promoter 101. Promoter 101. And Promoter 101. Get out of here. Promoter 101.
Hey, this is Jerry Goldman, Vice President of Booking and Event Operations at the United Center in Chicago. You're on Promoter 101.
You're a tad early. That's no problem. We're ready for you anyway. Come on in.
That's right. Welcome to Promoter 101, episode 148. We are here today. Some great interviews coming up later on the podcast. We've got new Los Angelino, Jonny Shuman, here from AEG Touring, the longtime Denver resident, making the move for the Sunshine State, and here to talk about it on the podcast.
Love some Johnny. He's got some serious swagger and a great hang. Also, 3 questions with Jamo presents from St. Louis. Drew Jameson, gonna be right here playing 3 questions.
All right, Dan, let's do it.
Hi, it's Kira Finkenberg. I'm the marketing and ticketing guru for Andy Hewitt and Bill Silva Presents. I'm on Promoter 101.
Hey, Connor, pop quiz. Where can you listen to the podcast?
It's on Spotify and some other place. Quit yanking my chain, Dan.
Do that.
I love that somehow you're like a 50s gangster doing your best Johnny Dangerously or something, spinning a watch on a corner or something like you're a crazy cat. Hey, don't bug me, coppa.
That was pretty good. That made me laugh.
If there's something you want to share with us, simply email us at promoter101.net. We're happy to respond to you. Well, we're moderately okay responding to you. Feel free to send us a note. We like talking to you fuckers. That's for real.
That's the truth. And we're all over social media. You can hear our ramblings. Say hi to us. On Twitter, I'm W. Luke Pierce, Stan's the Jew, and the show's Promoter 101. Check it out.
We are now on Instagram. Steiny Promoter 101 is the show. Luke is W. Luke Pierce. I'm Dan Presents. And Connor, you're finally on Instagram.
Thank you, Dan, for letting me out of my editor's cave for long enough to tell all of our wonderful listeners that yes, indeed, I am on Instagram. Follow me at Connor Phoenix, yo. That's Connor with an O-R. Phoenix, as in the mythical bird thing. And yo, as in your mother says listen to Promoter 101, so call her already.
Ah, shit. Ties it in.
Brings it all full circle. If you want to see what Connor is up to, and ladies, he's single, follow you some Connor.
And if you're not on Instagram, you're still on Facebook, check us out, Promoter 101.
Also, if you're a 13-year-old girl, you might be interested that we're on Tumblr at Promoter 101 as well.
They would be on Snapchat, Dan. We don't have a Snapchat yet. And if you're on none of those places, you're an old-fashioned fucking, you still use the internet, World Wide Web at promoter101.com. Plus, find us now on LinkedIn.
Also, we're trying to remember what our Friendster password was so we can start a Friendster page. And Luke assures me that he's going to be able to find that as password for his MySpace page so we can get that stuff going too for you guys.
All those songs lost on MySpace. What do we do now?
We're going to sing them all. Connor was going to stay up day and night, and we're going to sing them for you and me. The ballads brought to you by Dan and Luke, just like Rod Stewart doing the back catalogs of everything. I can't wait to hear you cover Beat It. I think that's going to be phenomenal, Luke. And I do a mean Harry Styles.
That's pretty good.
Hi, this is Noelle Largess from APA, and I'm on Promoter 101.
Let's celebrate some birthdays because, you know, people still have them. Finishing up May 7th, going on to May 13th.
It's a big week this week, Dan. And the first day here, we've got Tuesday, the 7th. Birthdays for Mark Ross, Phil Inglethal, Craig Sumberg, Tamsin Preston, and oh my God, our very own Dan Steinberg.
I'm aging.
You're aging, man. Happy birthday, brother.
Right before you, I'm aging. Thank you. Thank you so much, Luke. No cards are needed. Just send cash.
Send cash. Venmo at Dan Presents.
No, but you know what you could do is you could send some money to Music Cares if you want to do something for my birthday. That'd be kind of cool.
Are you going to do a Facebook fundraiser for that? That'd be a cool thing. I bet you'd raise a lot of money.
Why not? I've never asked for anything, so maybe. We got to figure out a way to raise some money for Music Cares. Those guys are good guys. We got to take care of that. Wednesday, May 8th. John Bolton, Brittany Flores Moyer, Jason Rogoff, Scott Mantell at ICM, and Live Nation Tourings, Ryan McIlrath, all celebrating birthdays on May 8th.
On Thursday, 5/9. happy birthday, Carl Stubner.
May 10th, Paul McGowan.
On the 11th, happy birthday to Cheryl Brown, the legend himself, Terry Rhodes, Sherry Rice, Leslie Stewart, Ethan Oxum, and Kevin Morris.
Terry Rhodes has the best sayings of anyone in the industry. If you ever have time to talk to Terry, it is certainly an educational thing, but I find him to be one of the most charming people in the entire industry. I love that guy.
I was just thinking of all the Terry Rhodes sayings.
I think my favorite is nobody washes a rental car.
That's true.
Sunday, the 12th, Adam Stroll, speaking of AEG Denver.
And on Monday the 13th, the Prince of Rock Festivals himself, Mr. Danny Wimmer.
He's got some good lineups this year.
Got some great lineups, yeah.
Wonderful wishes going out to all of our birthday guests on Promoter 101.
This is Matt King from Portland, Oregon with Mississippi Studios and True West Presents. I'm on Promoter 101.
Up first in Ep 148 of Promoter 101, we've got 3 questions. We're joined now by Jamo Presents Drew Jameson.
Welcome to the podcast, Drew.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
You got some questions for us?
Yeah, I'll start with an easier one. So in a competitive market, where do you draw the line when it comes to respecting promoter history, especially when said promoters wouldn't extend you the same courtesy?
Well, if they wouldn't extend you the same courtesy, then fuck them. If it doesn't go both directions, gloves are off.
Yep.
It's a two-way street with respect. Either you do or you don't. And you can't really respect somebody that just like goes after your acts. You really just can't. If it's not fair game, it's not a two-way street. Fuck it, man. I'm going after their shit too. But if they're going to be respectful, then yeah, of course. It's all in the family. You don't want to be like messing with your friends.
Sure. The next one, a little spin off of that question. Let's say you're first time buyer in a market, just getting your feet wet, which I've done before. It was a little tough at first when you're getting out there for the first time. Baby bands can go somewhat far, but how do you feel about those types of moves to make yourself come in with a slam dunk presence?
You can buy history. You can write checks. It doesn't mean the act's going to stay with you, and it's not always a great financial thing. But, you know, investing in yourself and building your own reputation is not a bad thing. It's getting your name out there, having them pay attention to you, showing them how well you handle the show, or maybe you overpay, but you still find a way to sell it. That's going to impress people. However, it is going to raise the bar.
Mm-hmm.
If you overpay for one act, the agents are going to kind of think, all right, money in the room, and you're going to be always paying at the level. You know, it's never a bad thing for them to know that you've got money, though, and you can take a hit. So it's that balance of like, okay, what do you do to get their attention? It's never been my thing to like throw money at an act. I'm just too cheap for that. You know, there's plenty of business to be had, and I want to be in business with people that want to do good business with me. So there's plenty of opportunities to lose money without trying. No need to go after acts that like you're just clearly throwing money at. There's better ways to spend that money.
Totally agree. Question number 3 would be way too often. I'm seeing agents coincidentally not having access to artist show history, but at the same time expecting you to buy it on their, let's just say, 20 grand quote. So my question, what are some techniques you use to size up a band's worth in a market when the info isn't readily available?
The onus is on you when you're making an investment. It's your risk. It's not the agents. It's not their money. It's their job to sell you, whether they give you that data, whether they have it, whether they are hiding it. You know, sometimes they switch agencies and they don't have it. You can pull a Polestar history for $15, right? If you're risking $25,000, $35,000, $50,000, is it worth $12 to find out what happened last time around the country? Probably, especially if you're not well versed with the act. It's on you. So whether you're looking at the numbers of socials, whether you're looking at the past histories, whether you're doing your research on how hot their album is currently and how great they're doing in adjacent markets and how great other tours just like that have been doing in the similar venue. You know, it's all things that you want to look at. At the same time, if the agent gets the better of you, it's his fucking job. Good on him. You can't really be upset when you get bit by the shark, when everybody's been warning you all along. They're fucking sharks. No matter how much you want to believe they're your friends, their job is to get the artist paid. And every once in a while, if you get too close to the shark, they're going to take a bite out of your wallet.
Amen. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Drew, for being on Promoter 101 with 3 questions.
My pleasure, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Drew's doing some good things in St. Louis. Thrilled to have him right here on Promoter 101.
Hi, it's Marcy Allen, president of Mac Presents, and honored to be on Promoter 101.
Dan, it's time for the unveiling of the Promoter 101 Badass of the Week.
So this week, a special shout out to the head of marketing at CAA, Allison McGregor. She's on the front line of so many tour marketing deals for decades. And I got to say, Bill Kittle reminded me that it was long overdue. So, hey, clearly, Allison McGregor, great at her job and really kind of helped define what that role was at major agencies, making her this week's Promoter 101 Badass of the Week.
High praise, but hard to argue with any of it, Dan. Congrats, Allie.
Shlomo Lipitz, City Winery. I'm on Promoter 101.
In our featured interview this week, we're joined by the man formerly known as Johnny Denver. Now Johnny, the promoter, the man who was at AEG Rockies, right-hand man to Don and everybody out there, has recently relocated to the City of Angels, where he's continuing to work with AEG Tourings. Welcome to the podcast, Jonny Shuman.
We're in Seattle, Washington, and I'm hanging out with Johnny. How you doing, man?
Yo, what's up, Dan? It's great to be in your hometown here. First time in Seattle, so...
Really?
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to have to get you some seafood while you're here.
I'm hearing that's the plan, so I appreciate it. We're going to go have a fun night after this.
I'm excited to have you on the podcast because you have transitioned from one of the hotter territorial offices in the AEG system out of the Rocky Mountain region over to the national touring team. So you've left one of the best incubators AEG has to go to their touring team. So it's being like called up to the majors, and you were already in the majors. So that's pretty fucking cool. AEG is showing some serious faith in you right now.
Yeah, definitely. It's a huge honor. You know, I was a promoter in Denver for 10 years before I got the call from Gary Gersh and the executives at AEG to come join the team. And you'll remember at Aspen Live about a year before, I made a joke. You kind of set me up during the Jay Marciano interview at Aspen Live, asked for a raise on my behalf, and less than a year later, things kind of came to fruition. So that was pretty cool, man.
I actually thought it was a really good idea that you put your hand up. It's like, I don't know if you knew Jay at that point, but like letting him know you were in the room and you worked for him. Didn't matter what you asked, just the fact that he knew at that moment that you were one of the 125 people in the room and one of the few that worked for him. Because it's a very small room at Aspen.
Definitely. I think I had met Mr. Marciano once at that time, but he knew of me, and I think it was a good opportunity to show face that I was present and repping the home team up in Aspen.
That was a fun opportunity to get to interview him there. But let's talk about your day and what's going on with you. So you started out in Denver and you were part of the club scene early as 2005, right?
Yeah, so I graduated from high school in 2004 and enrolled in CU in their music business studies program. And I started promoting shows, just kind of passing out flyers for different random events. And I just really wanted to be in the scene. And I know you interviewed Francois Baptiste a few weeks ago.
Yeah, great guy.
He's like a brother to me. So I was passing out a lot of show flyers for Francois. And I ended up getting a gig working for one of the biggest nightclub owners in Denver, who to this day is still a dear friend and father figure to me, named Regis Christou.
Regis, yeah, the church.
Yeah, the church, Vinyl, City Hall, a lot of just iconic Denver clubs.
Very Greek.
Yeah, very Greek. He used to call me a Malacca. I got fired every few weeks, but that opportunity at age 18, 19 years old to see how the nightclub business worked, to watch some of the biggest DJs in the world come play his rooms. I just knew that I wasn't going to be passing out flyers for long, and I asked him to start letting me book my own nights at some of his clubs. And in the beginning, you know, I had the opportunity to be one of the first promoter in Colorado to book acts like Pretty Lights, Diplo, Bass Nectar, the Glitch Mob, a lot of major electronic talent that now commands so much market space in the Denver electronic scene. And as a nightclub promoter, being able to do that at age, 20, 21 years old was a huge opportunity for me. And they would go on to play for Don and the bigger promoters after I got the first play. Yeah, Don Strasberg. So I stayed in the nightclub industry in Denver through about 2010. And in 2010, I moved to London for 6 months. I had an opportunity to go hang out in London and chill there. And then I moved to New York to work for a friend's record label in 2010 and 11, and came back to Denver to work for Regis in 2012. And that's when I really took over booking all of his clubs. And a few years later, I was working as Regis's buyer and as an independent promoter in Denver, middle buyer, whatever I had to do. And my kind of war story is the marijuana was just being legalized in Denver, and there was a lot of big cash floating around. And there was a couple big weed guys that wanted to throw a big show, and they had $1 million to throw the show with. And so I left several messages. Just a kid from Denver, I got $1 million for Outkast to play Red Rocks. And, just red flags were going up left and right. Don was getting calls. All these people were getting calls. And
who the fuck is this kid?
Who is this kid? Like, he's sending $1 million offer and he's serious. And the people that hired me to throw this show on their behalf as the booker and the buyer on the show versus like a promoter staking the show to get them the band, they wanted Outkast. So I had to call to Atlanta to the management. And when I went around William Morris to management, it really started going crazy. And long story short, didn't get the show. Don ended up getting the show at Fiddlers, and he invited me to co-promote on that show with him. And he's like, you got to kind of chill, man. You're really like going about this the wrong way and this and that. And I just said, man, I'm just trying to live. I'm trying to do the best I can with what I have and make a name for myself. 6 months later, my dad passed away. And I was just at a point where I was just sick of losing my artists to the bigger promoters. And I was thinking about moving to New York to be an agent and go to the dark side. And Don called me and said, I'd like you to come to Aspen Live with me. I think I might have a job for you as a buyer on my team. And I went to Aspen Live. I think that's the year we met, 2015.
Is that the J year or is that before? You were already working
no,
for J.
Yeah, that was before the J year. That was the first time I was at Aspen Live, and I met with Don and Rick Mueller, and a few weeks later I had an offer letter to be a buyer in Denver working for Don. So that's kind of how it all happened. It was just such a blessing to be able to work for Don and Brent and Chuck and Scott, Danny, the whole Denver team is just amazing. Being there for, nearly 3 years before I got a bigger opportunity to come to LA, and I'm single and 32 years old. So I said, I got to go see what I can do with this. So
now there's a space in music right now that's really exciting. Electronic, hip hop seems to be married in the middle there of just hot dance shows that are just amazing. And between what's happening with Ultra and some of the other bigger events that we're seeing, Electric Daisy, what have you, the scene has just exploded.
Yeah, Rolling Loud. We have festivals that are specializing in just electronic or just rap music. And it just goes to show that these genres are the new generation's new rock stars. I mean, just plain and simple. They're commanding market share on listeners and they're commanding market share on ticket sales. So it's a really exciting lanes to be able to work in. And I wanted to be able to grow with my artists beyond, just the Denver market, even though, like you said, it is an amazing market. And maybe someday I'll be able to go back home. But right now, I just really want to focus on having a seat at the table with the artists that I'm passionate about and delivering for them and their fans every chance I get.
Okay, so tomorrow you start a world tour here in Seattle, right?
No, we started the tour on 3 nights ago in Vancouver.
Canada doesn't count.
Yeah, Canada doesn't count. Portland was last night.
Okay.
And we have a day off today in Seattle, and he plays WAMU tomorrow night. And this will be my second WAMU show that I've sold out. We had YG up here earlier in the year. That was another tour that I worked on with AEG, and it was an amazing show. I couldn't make it up here that day, but I'm here now, and I'm in your city, so it's amazing.
So how many shows on a tour will you cover? I mean, it's the first week, so you're going to cover the first week, right?
On the Juice WRLD tour, I'm actually going to cover about half of it.
Okay.
I'm one of those guys that, like, when I tell them I'm going to be there for them, I'm going to be there for them, and I'm going to show up at the shows, and I have all the faith in the world in my team on the road, but I'm a promoter that likes to be hands-on with my artists. And if something comes up, like tomorrow, they want to go watch the Avengers movie, I had to be here on the ground finding a movie theater for them to go rent out to watch Avengers. So it's just like, I pay attention to what my artists need, and I hope that allows me to continue to do business with them for the long run.
You bought out the entire theater to them.
They're paying for it, but I've organized it, and I'll be in attendance.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now I might have to pick up the check for Juice WRLD, actually. I'm going to pay the money for them to go rent out the theater. You called me out. I'm going to go one more step.
I wasn't pushing you. But awesome. Well, I mean, I think you're a concierge for your act. And I think that's what it takes these days. It's a service business, right? So it's not just a matter of like buying the date, putting up the guarantee. You got to be there for the artist, and there's got to be a connection because you're not just an email address.
Right. Definitely. I think growing up and working in the electronic and rap hip hop lanes my whole life, it takes a certain promoter to anticipate things that are going to come up and be a buffer between acts and everyone else, because I want to be there to make sure that like no one gets rubbed the wrong way, because as a promoter, I got to come back into these venues. Not that any of these acts but it's rap music. There's always something that could come up, and I just like being there to be on site and hands-on with the acts when they're on the road as much as I can be. But that's the way I want to operate as a touring promoter. And I think Louis Messina, the best touring promoter in the world, is a good example of that, because he's on the road on a bus or on a plane with his acts every night. So I'm going to try to be as close to that as possible.
Emulating Louis Messina, like going for it early. So you've switched to the touring division, moving over from booking a market or a region to booking the country or the world. What's that like? That's a massive shift.
Yeah, it's a massive shift. And it's a massive shift in like how you have to think about your business and how you're going to deliver for your artists and their fans, because things are different in every city. And I really learned Denver very well. Luckily, I've had a chance to really travel the country and parts of the world. I've been blessed to be able to do that. So I think I've had some understanding of the nuances of different regions, but it's definitely so much more to learn. And the team at AEG and touring in LA and New York, from, Gary Gersh and Deborah Rathwell, Cody Luzier, Rich Schaefer, Rich Holtzman. They've really put together an incredible team of people that I'm just so lucky to be able to learn from every day. And our Clubs and Theater network with Brittany DeLava, Casey, that everybody's running incredibly right now. And it's really a great way for us to grow talent from the smaller level all the way up. And I'm just trying to get in where I fit in and play my part and learn and absorb as much as I can from my team, because it's really a blessing for me as a promoter to be able to like take it to the next level.
So what's coming up with you? I mean, obviously you got the Juice tour, but what else are you working on right now that you're rolling out next?
Suicide Boys tour is happening in the fall, and I think there's 20 dates. I think AEG, we got 15 out. We got most of the tour. I'm really excited about that. These guys are just amazing. And I got a few tours are about to announce, but I can't talk about them quite yet until the ink is dry. But
that's fair.
The last year has been fun. I've got to work on a tour for YG, a tour for Kevin Gates, St. John. We just wrapped up T-Pain's tour, which was nostalgic and a great time and fun everywhere. And I'm hoping to be doing leg 2 of that soon too.
Does he do I'm on a Boat live?
I think he did I'm on a Boat in a couple towns, but he's just incredible. I heard his voice is hurting, so he's going to take some time off. He was really working it. But he had just won the show Masked Singer.
Right.
And his manager is a friend of mine, Jonny Shuman. And I was going to do the tour regardless. But when I saw this show Masked Singer, I'm just like, I mean, America's going to love this. So I'm like, Jonny Shuman tells me T-Pain won the show 2 days before we put the tour on sale, right as the show's airing, and it's like the most watched show on
it blew up.
network television. So I was like, oh shit, T-Pain won the show, and the tour doesn't play until after everybody knows he won the show. So I had to, we moved up in a few rooms. So, it was a really fun tour to work on, and kind of brought me back 10 years to the club. And, I'm in love with the stripper, bartender, all those hits. It was a really fun tour.
So what are your goals for the next year? What's going through your mind? What are you trying to strive and hit?
So I really want to just keep learning and growing my business with the touring team at AEG. I want to, of course, just lock big tours, but I want to work with artists that I really see a future with, whether that's a club act that I want to develop from a club level or a larger act that I feel like Juice WRLD, for example. I went and saw his first show he ever did at the Starland in New Jersey last June. Within a year, we're selling out average cap rooms of 7,000 tickets on this tour. And I was a big part of the first tour he did in the clubs. And even though they didn't sell me the whole tour as a tour deal, I still went and fought for every market with some of the other buyers at AEG that were really bullish on Juice. And I walked into Gary's office one day and I said, listen, this kid is going to be a Billboard charting superstar. And I need to get in his life right now. And that's what I did. And, I think Juice is a perfect example of an artist that's like, the world is at his feet right now. And I guarantee you he'll be an arena act someday soon. And I think every time I hear him, the new music, I'm just blown away by the kid. And to be out on the road even the last 3 nights, to see the reactions of these kids from age 10 to 25. I mean, there's some parents in there too, but it's mostly young kids. And it's just like their reaction is just amazing. And to be able to hopefully build with Juice in the future and get him to that level, that's what I want to do with all the acts I work with. And I'm not going to bite off more than I can chew either. I want to pick the artist. We're not in the volume business. I think we're in a business of curating the talent that we really believe in, no matter what level they're on. And that's the kind of environment and atmosphere that I think I thrive in. I think creative people thrive in the best. So I'm really stoked for the future.
So how about shouting out a couple of the agents and managers that have gotten you to where you are at this point?
Oh, I got to say, Kara Lewis, Caroline Yim, and Cheryl Pagliariani, 3 amazing, powerful women that really looked out for me over my career from the very beginning. Kevin Shivers. On the electronic side of things, I would say Lee Anderson, Max Braun, Sam Hunt, Cody Chapman at Paradigm, Hunter Williams. There's just a lot of great agents, and I'm missing some, but there's just been so many that have really had the opportunity to build with and deliver for. And like you said at the beginning, that's all we have in this business as promoters is our word and being there for our acts. When we say we're going to do something, we do it. And if you don't do that, you don't get any more shows. So I'm happy I had the opportunity to work with all those great people. And the list is so long. That's just a few. But
so you've always been Johnny Denver. That's your tag name, right?
Yeah, that was my tag name for sure.
All right. So now it's Johnny Hollywood, I guess?
Well, I actually changed my Instagram now. I went from Johnny Denver to Johnny the Promoter just because I wanted to just rebrand myself a little bit, because in LA, they're like, Johnny Denver, okay, but Denver's always home. I love Denver. I know what it means, but people were like, I don't know. I felt a little shade about the Johnny Denver name, and Johnny the Promoter was available, and I was like, hey, I'm not just a Denver promoter anymore, so I changed it up.
Not just a Denver promoter. I like that. You got some advice for the young guys coming up behind you, and that's right, you're not one of the young guys anymore. You've moved up in the world.
You know, it's hard to believe that 13 years has gone by, you know. I started when I was about 19, started buying shows about 20. I'm 32, 33 in June, so I'm not a young guy anymore. It's hard to accept.
You got plenty of years ahead of you, dude. You're fine.
Yeah, I'm good. We'll be all right. I would just say, look, like I said, you got to deliver when you're given the opportunity to, as an independent or young promoter, to even have the opportunity to get some of these agents on the phone. I would just say, deliver for them, even the smallest act. And as a young promoter, for me, the only acts I could really get were acts that were first-time plays in the market that no one had heard of and I was bullish about. So just pick the ones that you really believe in and be there for them, and hopefully it works out as well as it did for me, for you. And I think it will. Once you do it enough times, you're going to hit a couple acts that mean something, and just stay passionate. That's how I have always tried to look at my past and give the advice to young promoters.
Some great advice from Johnny Denver, Johnny the promoter. Thank you so much for being on Promoter 101.
Hey, Dan, thanks for having me. It's been real fun, and looking forward to hanging and going to get some bomb seafood from, where are we going? Brooklyn's. See you there.
Had the pleasure of sharing dinner with Johnny this past weekend, and man, he just really a fresh of breath air for the industry. He's so excited and so into his artists, got great ears. I think we're yet to see the best from him. There's big things on the horizon. Jonny Shuman here on Promoter 101.
Daniel Glick. I work for Evenco on Promoter 101.
The quote of the week is brought to us this week by Thomas Carlyle. Go as far as you can see. When you get there, you'll be able to see further. That's some deep shit right there, Luke. See what I just did? Blew up your mind.
Go to the edge and look past it, Dan. That's what he's saying. It's a good one.
I kind of liked it because it was like deep, but yet pretty easy to follow. Kind of like me.
Hey, it's Sam Kenken, and you're listening to Promoter 101.
That'll do it. Concludes our broadcast day. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate everybody listening in on episode 148 of Promoter 101. And thank you so much to our wonderful guest this week from AEG Touring in Los Angeles, Jonny Shuman, and Jamo Presents Drew Jameson. Thanks for coming on the podcast today. If you like this podcast, we want to hear about it. If you didn't like this podcast, I'm not so sure we want to hear about it, but send your thoughts anyways. You can always hit us at steiny@promoter101.net if you miss us and you just want to catch up.
Hey, we'll return at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Greenwich Mean Time, midnight, baby, this Thursday night.
Next Thursday, we're going to be back, episode 149, Dan. Can you believe we're almost at 150? Episode 149 coming up this Thursday. We're going to have Germany's C2 Concerts Christian Dole on the podcast.
I do believe it because we're doing 2 episodes a week now, so we're really we're double timing it. So
double time.
It's not like that first 100 where we took 100 weeks. It took half the time this time. So yeah, we're moving quick. Until then, we're wishing you, you know what? Not all of you. There's that one motherfucker in the Midwest that's kind of a dick. I don't want you to have sold out shows. You can have stiffs. Everybody else, I'm wishing sold out shows for the weeks to come.
Hey, cheers. Call your mother.
Call your mother.
Call your mother.
What are you going to call her, Luke?
Hey, Lynn, what's going on? I don't know. I got nothing.
Call your mom Lynn?
No, I don't call my mom Lynn. Call my mom Ma, M-A. That's what she's in my phone as. It's actually hard to... I might change her name to Lynn Pierce in my phone because it's like when I say, hey, Siri, call Ma, it never picks it up. So I'm thinking it might need a different command.
For some reason, it's just I'm expecting you to break out in Pearl Jam tunes. Don't call me daughter. Maybe not.
No, not quite.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great W. Luke Pierce here on Promoter 101. See you next time.
See you next time.
Hello, my name's Jane Bees. I'm the head of music at the Roundhouse, and I'm here on Promoter 101.